Good afternoon, it's Lynn here from the Learn English Network, and we are in Kitely for ESL vocabulary. Now, Shiny and April, you were here last week. Could you let Nina know, because this week is slightly related to last week's session, could you tell Nina what we did last week? Can you remember?
Related to last week. Last week we were talking about fire brigade, fire station, and all things that related to fire and extinguishing and extinguishing the fire, right?
Spot on. Absolutely correct, yes. So well done. You were paying attention. Yay! Have you got anything you'd like to add, Shiny, that you remember from last week?
It's a bit detail. They use engine or pumper or truck or ladder.
Ladder. Yeah.
Ladder.
That's
Thank
it,
you.
yeah. And also, yeah, the ladder, we didn't just use the ladder to fight fires, did we? We used the ladder.
Yeah. Save people.
Yeah, safety, and also meow. 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 Can you remember what else they used the ladder for?
To help the cat.
Yeah,
which
the cat
climbed
stuck in the tree that I couldn't see.
Yeah, stuck in the tree. But Lynn,
Yes.
just before, after the session, in the evening, I read in the newspaper here, a driver, a car driver, he was, I think, speeding. Yeah, and police came after him, and he wanted to escape, but he couldn't go further because he was nearing a river, and he just step out of here, I don't know, step out of his car, and he jumped in the river. He wanted to go to cross the river to the other side, but he couldn't because it was too cold, and the fire brigade has to rescue him. So I think, that is one example about what a
What
police
an idiot!
yeah. So
I
yeah,
wonder what he'd
idiot, yeah.
done. I wonder what he'd done. He must have had a guilty conscience, I think, if he'd decided he was going to. He'd rather drown than be caught by the police. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and in the cold water.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
Well, people are very strange, it has to be said. Okay, well, this week we're going to carry on talking about fire. Now, I did consider reading about Grenfell, which was the huge fire recently, but it's still too painful and horrible to make it into a lesson, I think. So we're going to talk about another large fire that happened in London a long time ago. Can anybody think of a big fire at Grenfell? Grenfell, yeah. But can anybody think of a large fire that happened in London, and does anybody know when it happened?
Yes, not a long time ago, just a few months ago, right? In
Not
the Parliament. Not that one. Okay,
that's Grenfell.
Okay.
Yeah.
London is burning. Yeah, I know the story, but I can't remember when.
Well,
which
it's
year. It's
called
19 something.
Oh no. It's called the Great Fire of London.
It wasn't during the war, Ellen?
No, that was the Blitz. So in all honesty, London has really been through it over the years. The Blitz was the multiple fire bombing of London as well. And that happened over a period of time during the war. No, the Great Fire of London was a long time ago. What I'd like you to do, if you can open up a Google page or a search page, Bing, any other page search that's available, try to find out when the Great Fire of London took place, okay? Rather than me telling you. You find out. First one to type it up. Very good. Well done. Now, it's a very strange story about the Great Fire of London. And it was really doubly tragic because it destroyed London, but people were almost breathing a sigh of relief in 1666, because in 1665, do you know what other big tragedy hit London? In 1665? We have spoken about it in previous sessions. It was the plague. So the people who'd survived the plague in 1665 must have thought, 1666 is going to be a great year. And then this happened. And very few original buildings survive today. Sorry, I've got a tickle in my throat.
Bless you.
I told you I was tired. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to read about, you're going to read to me, because I've got a tickly throat. So you're going to read to me about the Great Fire, okay? First of all, is this the first time you've ever heard of the Great Fire? Because, of course, we learn this at history in school. In our history lessons, we're taught about all this. But it might be, yeah? Okay. By the way, you say bless you if somebody sneezes, not if somebody coughs. Okay. Coughing, you just go, I don't know, have a glass of water. Do you need a glass of water? But if somebody goes, then you say bless you, or Gesundheit. Oh, that was a good one. Oh, would you mind not sneezing all over me? Okay, you've heard of it, Shiny. What do you know about the Great Fire of London, Shiny? Anything?
Heard it before.
Oh, sorry, I only caught the very end of that sentence, Shiny. Do you want to repeat it?
I'm sorry, I meant that I never heard that before.
Ah, okay. I'm sorry, I meant I'd never heard of it. Okay. I had never heard of it before. Because, of course, now you have heard of it, so you have to go and say, oh, I'd never heard of that before. Okay, well, Shiny, you were the first person to speak with me, so you get the first bit of reading, if that's okay. Whenever you're ready.
The Great Fire of London was a major conflagration that swept through the central parts of the English city of London from Sunday, 2nd September to Wednesday, 5th September 1666. The fire gutted the medieval city. It threatened but did not reach the aristocratic district of Westminster. Charles II Place of Whitehall and most of the suburban slums. However, it did consume 1,300 houses, 87 parish churches, St. Paul's Cathedral, and most of the buildings of the city authorities. It is estimated to have destroyed the homes of 70,000 of the city's 80,000 inhabitants.
So we've got a conflagration here, a big destructive fire. Okay, do you want to try saying it, Shiny? Conflagration.
Conflagration.
Yeah, conflagration. You've got to get the fl in, like fluff. Conflagration.
Conflagration.
Perfect. Well done. As I say, an extensive fire which destroys. So you can have a house fire and it might destroy a room. It could even maybe destroy the house. But if it destroys a whole street or half a city, then we're talking about a conflagration. Okay? The next one is from the verb to threaten. A threat, but to threaten. So threatened. Try it.
Threatened.
Very good. Then we have the aristocracy, but they are aristocratic. Aristocratic. Try it.
Aristocratic.
That's it, yeah, good. Although we do say, as I said, aristocracy. So it can be a little bit, you have to just learn those two different pronunciations. So we've got aristocracy. The aristocracy try to be aristocratic. Okay. Then Charles II, well done. And you were right, it's Charles II's palace. So we've got Elizabeth II.
Charles II Palace.
Yeah, Charles II's palace. So we've got Elizabeth II on the throne at the moment, and we had Elizabeth I, and you can also get things like Henry I, Henry II, Henry III, Henry IV, Henry V, Henry VI. Nobody's dared be called Henry after that one, though. Very good, well done. Now your numbers. Do you want to try again with that number? Remembering that the comma denotes thousands. Okay?
Thirteen 13,200.
That's it. 13,200. So when you see a comma in English, it denotes this is 1,000. And if you see 2, then you know you're talking about 13 million. So how would you say that, Shiny? I dread to think what that means. Can anybody help Shiny? How would you pronounce that number?
13,200,030.
Yes, 13,200,030, or 13,200,030 if you're American. Don't let these big numbers throw you. Yeah, just practice them. Just see big numbers, read them out loud in English. They're just big numbers, and it might help you to write them out as well. But really, at your level of English, Shiny, your numbers could be better. Okay, and then the last one, cathedral, St. Paul's Cathedral.
Cathedral.
Yes. Okay, it's a place of worship, a large place of worship, important in any city. Only cities can have a cathedral. Okay. And yes, St. Paul's Cathedral was destroyed in the Great Fire of London. So what you're seeing when you visit London is not the original St. Paul's. Any questions?
So it lasted 3 days, Lynn.
Yes.
From the 2nd to the 5th of September.
Yeah.
And where did it start?
Well,
which,
we will come to that.
Region? Oh, okay.
We will come to
in
that.
The slum, or I wonder, is that from the good region, the good area, or from the bad area?
Well,
the poor area or the rich area?
You have to be patient. You're about to read. Exactly. You're about to tell us where it started, April. So, here you go.
Okay. The death toll is unknown, but traditionally thought to have been small, as only 6 verified deaths were recorded. This reasoning has recently been challenged on the grounds that the deaths of poor and middle-class people were not recorded. While the heat of the fire may have cremated many victims, leaving no recognizable remains. A melted piece of pottery on display at the Museum of London, found by archaeologists in Pudding Lane, where the fire started, shows that the temperatures reached 1,250 degrees Celsius. That is very high.
That is very hot, yeah. It melted the pottery. It melted, it destroyed so much. So, and it just shows you what things were like at the time. Oh, Shiny, your mic is open. We've got a bit of feedback.
Sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. You and me, we're on the same wavelength sometimes. Okay. Okay, thank you. Recognizable or unrecognizable? If you can, to recognize, yeah? To recognize somebody. So, to see them and know who they are.
Yes, but it's written S and
okay. Recognizable. Remember Z and S. When you see an S for a Z sound, it often denotes British English. Okay. So to recognize British English with a Z, American English. Okay. Often you'll see this word ending as a difference between English and British and American English spelling. Okay? Well spotted, but yes. I am in flux as to whether I write it with a Z or an S. But I know if I see it written as an S, it's recognised and recognisable. Okay? Any questions about the text? Very nicely read, April.
So, What was it? But yeah, Pudding Lane at that moment. What was that, Lynn?
Yeah, I'd say
Is
Pudding
it,
Lane, not Pud. Pudding.
pudding.
Pudding
Like
Lane, yeah.
black pudding. Okay.
Sorry, what was your question?
Was it a poor area, or is it a middle
It
class
wasn't. Yeah,
area?
it was a working area. It was a working class area. We're about to learn a little bit more about how the fire started, so that should tell you a bit more. Okay, but it wasn't a slum as such, although by today's standards, we would probably think you. uh, Life in those days was quite basic. No plumbing, no sewers. Just throw all your effluent out in the street, that kind of thing. And the houses were pretty basic. Nina, if there are no more questions,
No.
hello, would you like
Okay.
to carry on reading?
I would like to try. Yeah.
Awesome. There you go. You're going to tell us how it started.
How it started. The Great Fire started at the bakery or baker's house of Thomas Feihner or Feirner on Pudding Lane shortly after midnight on Sunday, 2th September, and I think it's 2nd September, and it spread rapidly west across the city of London. The major firefighting technique of the time was to create fire breaks by means of demolition. This, however, was critically delayed owing to the indecisiveness of Lord Mayor of London, Sir Thomas Woodworth. By the time that large-scale demolitions were ordered on Sunday night, the wind had already fanned the bakery fire into a firestorm that defeated such measures. The fire pushed north on the Monday into the heart of the city. Thank you. Okay. To bark like a dog. Yeah. Bakery. Bake. Okay. Bakery. Okay. Okay. The baker baked a cake in the bakery, which the dog baked. Oh, fuck. Okay. The baker baked. Oh, sorry. The baker baked a cake in the bakery, which the dog bucket.
Barked.
Oh my gosh.
Barked. I know, it's not easy, is it? It's not easy.
The baker baked a cake in the bakery, whilst the dog bucket.
Barked.
barked.
That's it.
The dog barked.
Okay, one last time.
No, it's
The baker.
it's hard.
It is, but that's why you have to practice with alliteration, with use the same words, not just on their own, but sometimes when they're tricky, try to form a sentence. So, one last time. The baker baked a cake in the bakery whilst the dog barked. Try it.
The baker baked a bake. The baker baked. The baker baked. The baker baked a cake in the bakery whilst the dog barked.
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 That's
Bark,
it.
bark,
Okay, who
bark.
else wants to have a go? Shiny, would you like to have a go at that one? It's not easy, I know.
Try.
Baked a cake in the bakery whilst the dog barked.
Yeah, whilst, not whilst, whilst. Whilst means during that time. Okay? Not
Yes,
bad.
not
April,
bad.
you going to have a go? Are you feeling brave?
The baker baked a cake in the bakery whilst the dog barked.
Yeah, bakery though, not bakery, bakery. So one last time.
Bakery. The baker baked a cake in the bakery whilst the dog barked.
Perfect. Well done. Okay, so write that one down and just practice it, Nina. Okay? But remember, barked, silent E. Okay?
Barked.
That's it. Yeah, well done. Okay, then the next bit, rapidly. To do something quickly, rapidly.
Rapidly.
Not rapidly, that would be rapt, would be to stare at somebody in, you can't take their eyes off them, you're rapt. So rapidly, try it.
Rapidly. Rapidly.
That's right. To be rapid means to be quick or fast, and to do something rapidly, those adverbs that we're looking at on Tuesdays, rapidly, to do something quickly. Okay? Then
Fast.
yeah, that's it. Then this next one, lots and lots of syllables in this one, but the key to the word is decisive. To be decisive, to be able to decide. Decisiveness is the ability to be decisive, and the opposite is indecisiveness. Try it.
Indecisiveness.
Yeah.
Why the expression in the middle? Indecisiveness. Yeah.
Well, yeah. When you're looking at these longer words, try to see the syllables and see if there's a word inside the long word that you recognise. Generally, that's the core of the word, and everything else is just being built around it as a prefix and a suffix. Okay, so once you've figured out, okay, it's decisive, then you've got decisiveness, and the opposite those words that always indicate, these prefixes that usually indicate the negative of something, indecisiveness, and it becomes a little easier. When you're reading, don't worry about just taking a moment to think. You can even type it up in chat. So indecisiveness. Okay.
Oh God.
I know, but it's not a race.
Decisive indecisiveness. Yeah.
I'm always decisive, Shiny.
When are you decisive?
Me. I'm always decisive. When it comes to Friday, I'm very decisive. As much as I enjoy TGIF, eventually I will decisively say, that's it guys, I'm going, bye, have a nice weekend. And I'll say it very decisively. Although this morning I was very indecisive because there was somebody farming next to me in Vikings and I didn't know whether to attack them or not. In the end I attacked them and I won. Yay!
Oh,
I know.
well done.
I know. I was very proud of myself, but I'll tell you what, my hand was shaking. I was so how
I can
sad.
see that.
How sad is my heart was racing, my hand was shaking, but I won. Although my husband said I could have won better. Oh, Aladdin's here.
Oh, really?
Aladdin's here. Hang on, let's get Aladdin in. Oh, let's find him.
You were shaking like a leaf.
I was shaking like a leaf, yeah. It's only a game, but it's funny it gets you like that.
So emotion, yeah. So
Totally.
emotion.
But I was decisive eventually. But to start with, I was very in. Can they see me? Are they waiting? Is it a trap? Oh dear. Anyway, let's move on. The next one is large scale. Large scale.
Large scale.
Yeah, it just means large, but in the measurement of it. Okay. You can also say something is small scale. A small scale the Learn English Network is a small scale operation. People mistake us for a large scale operation because we do so much, but we're actually a very small scale operation.
Oh.
Okay. Okay, next one.
Industry has a large large scale. Industry.
Large scale industry, exactly. Yep. Oh, Aladdin's crashed. Ah, no. Okay, so. I'll send him a little message. Okay. It happens. So let's move on. Then we've got to fan the flames, and fanned, silent E.
Fanned.
That's it, yeah. To fan, a fan as well. You can use a fan to fan yourself if you're hot. You can use a fan to cool yourself down. Okay, but to fan the flames means the wind pushed the fire to spread. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Then defeated.
Defeated.
Yes, to defeat someone. I defeated the Viking this morning. I won, he lost. I defeated him. And
defeated is you beat, you bite. Oh, beat or bite. Beat. Oh.
No, if you have a competition, one person wins and the other person is to beat. To beat.
Yeah, to beat. Okay, defeat is similar to beat. To bite, to beat. Yeah.
Okay, so yes.
I think dogs bite to beat all the time.
Yeah. I mean,
humans.
if I was playing Monopoly with you, I would say I beat you. Okay? Or you beat me. Let's be fair.
Yeah.
Let's be fair. You beat me, I beat you. But in more of a battle.
Also, come on, sit down near me. I don't bite you.
Yes.
I will not bite you.
Yeah, that's
sit
it.
down, please.
Well, sometimes you might say to somebody, "Come in, I don't bite."
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
But
I hear that
defeat is more literary. It's more descriptive than to beat, and often we'd use it in war, in times of war, etc. Hi, Aladdin.
There's someone flying here.
Yeah, but someone with a white dot, which is amazing.
Yes, someone with a white
my
dot.
goodness! It's got a voice!
Oh! Well done!
Awesome!
Finally!
Awesome! I don't know what you did, but
Amazing.
whatever you did, remember what you did and do it again, Aladdin. So, whatever you did, don't forget to do it again. Yes, maybe.
But just one is getting the tooth, like me.
It is one of the things I feel guilty about in these sessions when people have connection problems, but yeah.
Yeah.
Shiny, take the mic.
But I have a question. And not a question. I want you to, could you talk about it a little bit more about that sentence. To create fire breaks by means of demolition.
Demolition,
I mean,
yeah.
back in that time, they don't extinguish fire directly.
Well, a smaller fire, yes, they would try to throw water on it to extinguish it. Yeah, remember that word, to extinguish. But they didn't have, remember last week when we were outside the fire station and they had the big fire hydrant where you could just plug in your fire equipment with a pump and it would spray water and extinguish. They did not have those in those days. They had smaller hand pumps and carts, but with a conflagration like the Great Fire of London, it would be like trying to wee on it, to be honest. You wouldn't be able to put it out that way. So what they would do would be to pull down and even blow up the buildings where the fire was spreading in order to remove the fuel for the fire, because fire to spread has to have fuel. Okay. Is that clear?
Okay.
Is that clear, Shiny? Yeah?
Yes.
Okay. So demolition, and today now, forest fires, quite often they'll create a fire break, sometimes by actually burning in front of the fire. It seems crazy. We have a saying, to fight fire with fire.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. To fight fire with fire. It's also an idiom, which means, yeah, okay, we need to fight this, we'll do the same thing. We'll do whatever they're doing. We will fight fire with fire. Okay? Okay, any other questions before we move on?
Yeah, one question and one remark.
Okay.
Here, still in the first sentence. Oh no, the second sentence. The major firefighting technique of the time. Of the time here, is it then in that time, or is
Yes.
that
In that era.
in that time,
In
at that
era.
moment?
Yeah, yeah. In
Ah,
the
in
time,
that, yeah, in
in
that
that
era.
era. Exactly. They didn't
Okay.
have any other
Yeah.
firefighting techniques. There were no other
Huh?
known way. They didn't have, I don't think they actually had a fire brigade as such. I think they had small volunteer people who knew how to fight fire. But it wasn't, you couldn't dial 999, okay?
Okay, and then uh, was critically delayed owing to here is due to the same
Yes,
list,
exactly.
due to the okay, yeah. And then a firestorm here, is that also the conflagration that you can say it is a firestorm?
Yes. When a fire
Okay.
spreads so quickly, we can call it a firestorm or a conflagration, but it means a firestorm would mean it spread very, very quickly. Like water in a storm, traditionally we think of a storm as being involving a lot of rain, but this was a firestorm as in a lot of fires breaking out all over the place. Fight one, another one springs up further down the road.
Okay, thank you. And I found it very funny or nice, the name of that baker, Thomas Fariner, because in France, you know,
Means
farine
flour,
is
yeah.
flour.
Well, remember, people got the names that associated with their trade back then. His family's known as Mr. and Mrs. Baker now. There are people called Baker and Plumber. So, yeah, maybe he was descended from the French. Well, we'll come to that in a moment, actually. So, Aladdin, would you like to do a little bit of reading? If you hadn't guessed, we're talking about the
Okay.
Great Fire of London, 1666. Okay?
Okay. No guessing.
Okay, so let's give you Oh, I'm so glad you're here. We can actually get you to read. Yay! I haven't heard you read for so long.
I can't believe it.
I know, it's awesome. Okay, so here you go.
Order in the street broke down as rumors arose of suspicions, foreigners setting fire. The fires of the homeless focused on the French and Dutch, England's enemies in the ongoing Second Anglo-Dutch War. Those substantial immigrant groups become victims of the lynching and street violence of the Tuesday. On the Tuesday, the fires spread over most of the city, destroying St. Paul's Cathedral and leaving all the river flat to threaten Charles L's court at Whitehall. The aristocracy of the day shunned the city and lives easier in the countryside beyond the slum suburbs or the suburbs or the exclusive Westminster district, the modern West End, and the site of Charles L. Court at Whitehall. Healthy people preferred to live at a convenient distance from the traffic-clogged, polluted, unhealthy city, especially after it had been hit by advertising outbreak of bubonic plague in the pleasure year of 1665. I hate names. Yeah, no, it's good. No regretting. Yeah. I hate my brain. Yeah. I hate my brain, I know. He always fool me. Yeah. Okay. Fears. Okay. Fires, fears. These substantial. I have no idea. Mhm. Lynchings. Lynchings. Mhm. Lynchings.
attacking, and
She said
hurting, wounding.
it's a sad word. She
By
said.
knife?
It's not an action.
By knife? You using knives? No.
Diet. Mm. Even on after the court, it's the same lynching. That will be hanging. Okay. Lynching. Sorry. Okay. Spread. Spread. Street. St. Paul. Okay. Fleet. Okay. Charles II's court. The sec- Charles II's court. Elizabeth II. Yeah. Elizabeth II. Okay. The aristocracy of the car. Mhm. Suburbs. Okay. Westminster. Wealthy people, yeah. I said healthy? Wealthy? Okay. Wealthy. Devastating. Devastating. So, devastating. Okay. Argue, segue, view, vague. Still awesome. Vogue, vague. Okay. View, vogue, vague. Okay.
Contagion. Contagious. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Go back to
It's
sleep, Lynn.
contagious.
Go back to sleep, Lynn.
Oh,
Lynn, traffic blocked. Is that the same as traffic jam? It's the same. Okay. But it's healthy. That poo. And Westminster, Lynn. Is Eastminster that it also exists or not? We are talking always about Westminster, but I wonder if there is also Eastminster. So it is not west of the Minster. Does it have a meaning, Minster? Oh, okay. What's that?
The relationship between the city and the crown was often tense. The city of London had been a stronghold of republicanism during the Civil War, 1642 to 1651, and the wealthy and economically dynamic capital still had the potential to be a threat to Charles II, as had been demonstrated by several Republican uprisings in London in the early 1660s. The city magistrates, sorry about that, were of the generation that had fought in the Civil War and could remember how Charles I's grab for absolute power had led to that national trauma. Republicanism. Republicanism. Sorry. Republicanism. Republic. Republicanism. Thing. Magistrates. I don't know.
Okay, thank you. They were determined to thwart any similar tendencies in his son, and when the Great Fire threatened the city, they refused the offers that Charles made of soldiers and other resources. Even in such an emergency, the idea of having the unpopular royal troops ordered into the city was political dynamite. By the time that Charles took over command from the ineffectual Lord Mayor, the fire was already out of control. Is it the same Lord Mayor now, Lynn?
No, he's dead.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, maybe his grand.
No. I don't know his lineage, but the current Lord Mayor may be related. I don't know, but no, it's not. It's not. Lord Mayors are elected. It's not like the royal family. It's not handed down from father to son, etc. Okay, 2 words. We'll have to crack on because I need to go. Thwart. To thwart somebody, to stop them doing what they want to do. Thwart.
Yeah. Thwart.
And dynamite. Little Miss Dynamite.
Okay, dynamite.
That's it.
Okay, I said dynamite.
Yeah, you did.
But sometimes you have to say dynamo or dynamo?
Dynamo.
And dynasty, yeah?
Dynasty, yes.
It's dynasty.
Although some Americans do say dynasty. I call it dynasty, but no, dynasty is what I would say. Dynasty, dynamite, and yeah, can't think of any others. Okay, Nina, if you'd like to read the next paragraph.
Okay, thank you. Coordinated firefighting efforts were eventually organized, and the battle to quench the fire is considered to have been won by 2 factors. The strong east winds died down, and the Tower of London garrison's use of gunpowder to create effective fire breaks to have further spread eastward. I think so. Thank you.
Well done. Good. Hang on a second. Okay, so first of all, efforts, not efforts. It's not a fort.
Efforts.
No, efforts.
Oh. Efforts. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's that
effort,
sound.
Effort.
Yeah.
Effort. Okay,
It's such
stress is different.
Yeah, no, it's the ending. It's got the schwa, not fort, effort. Okay, so you've got, oh, hang on.
Effort.
You've got a fort. So fort is like or, okay? A fort. But then you've got effort.
Fort. Effort.
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 That's it. Effort has got the schwa, this sound.
Effort. Okay.
So try it again. Close your eyes. Effort.
Effort.
That's better. Good. Then considered silent
Close
E.
your eyes. It's great. Okay. I close my eyes.
Yes, well, sometimes it helps because when your brain sees the letters, it tries to trick you. It thinks, no, that must be fort. I know how to say fort, but it's not. It's effort. Okay. Then considered, silent E.
Considered.
That's it. Halt, not half. Halt.
Considerate. Considered is different. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
and considerate. I'm sorry to say, it's another one that has the considerate. Okay, considered. She's very considerate. Then halt, not half. Halt, to stop.
Halt.
That's it. And eastward.
Eastwood.
Yeah,
Eastward.
eastward. Eastward. Again, you've
Eastward.
got that. Yeah, you got that schwa sound. Eastward.
Eastwood.
Yeah, because if you say,
Wood.
if you
Schwa
say,
sound again.
yeah, exactly.
Word.
It's the most common sound in English because it covers all the vowels.
And I love it.
Yeah, I do too.
I love
It's like
it.
a little drunken E. Look at
It's
him.
more.
It's a great
It's
sound.
easier. It's easy. Yeah.
I love the fact that he's backward and upside down. I think he's really cool. My little drunken
Wow.
E.
Wow.
The schwa. I don't know why they ever called it the schwa. Okay, so Aladdin, if you'd like to read the very last paragraph.
However, the social and economic problem created by the disaster were overwhelming. Evacuations from London and resettlements elsewhere were strongly encouraged by Charles II, who feared a London replacement amongst the dispossessed refugees. Despite numerous radical proposal, London was reconstructed on essentially the same street plan used before the fire.
Very good. Yes, well done. What they did change was they replaced a lot of the old Tudor-style wooden buildings with brick, which is why we've now got so many brick. One thing you'll notice if you go to London is how many Victorian-style brick buildings there are, and how few Tudor-style buildings there are, because that was one of the reasons it spread so quickly, was the buildings were wooden and badly constructed half the time. It was quite regular for buildings to just collapse in London back then, just to fall down. Okay, so let's go to the just a few words. First one, overwhelming.
Overwhelming.
Yes, a lot. Yeah, it's just German grammar is overwhelming. Okay, it's just too much. Then resettlement. To resettle. A resettlement is a place where people are resettling, trying to sort their lives out. Resettlement. Try it.
Resettlement.
Good. Then rebellion.
Rebellion.
Good. Refugees.
Refugees.
Yep. Despite.
Despite.
And radical. Well done. You get a smiley for that one. You figured it out. Radical.
Radical.
That's it, yeah. So it's strange how people forget that, you know, once upon a time, these things that you now see happening in the world today happened to their ancestors. There were refugees, thousands of them, fleeing London, homeless, with just what they could carry. And Charles II encouraged them to actually go to other towns because there was nowhere to house them in London. And yeah, it was a huge time of upheaval and chaos in that part of the world. And he was terrified, of course, of another civil war breaking out and deposing it. And he might have lost his head like his father had, as his father was executed and decapitated. Okay. Anyway, that's it. That cheerful little story, hey? But if you ever visit London again, if you ever visit London for the first time maybe, there's one place in London that survived the Great Fire, and the address is 41 Cloth Fair. Okay. It's the only house that survived the Great Fire of London.
It's a house, Lynn.
It's the only building. It's called the oldest house, but I doubt it's a house still, because most places in London you can't afford to live there. Mostly you call them buildings now, because they'll be offices or places of business rather than places where people live. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll stop there. We've overrun, but that's one of the reasons why I moved our session TGIF, so that we'd have a bit more time to just finish these topics. Next week, a new topic based on last week's challenge. April, yes. I hope you're having fun with this week's vocabulary challenge. It's good fun, isn't it?
Yeah.
I saw
Who
your
done
reaction.
it?
Oh
Yeah.
no, who did that? So we'll do some art vocabulary next week. The week after. Oh no, it won't be, because that'll be the end. But anyway, never mind. I always
Okay.
forget about holidays till I don't. I never forget to take my holidays, but I always say next session, and I mean next week, and I actually mean the next session. But I will be here next week, okay?
Next year.
Next year, indeed. That was a bit shocking for both of you, I think, wasn't it? Aladdin and I were in the spotlight
Yes, it
this
was.
morning, and I said, okay, we can do it next year, and he almost had a fit. Like, what? What, next year? Yeah, in about 2 weeks' time. 4 weeks' time. 4 weeks' time. You too, Shiny. Have a lovely weekend, and I'll see you sometime next week, I'm sure. And thank you for coming, and thank you for taking part. Take care. Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
And well done, Aladdin. Woohoo! Awesome.